CLS has had a tremendous amount of success in bettering really the lives of economically disadvantaged people here in the city and indeed across the country.
People see CLS, Community Legal Services, as just in the legal community, but it's bigger than that. It's part of the Philadelphia community. And I was just reflecting on 50 years. Every step when there's been upticks, downticks, whatever has been happening to the citizens of Philadelphia, CLS has been there at the heart of it.
What CLS has really done so well is to identify areas where its focus on policy can really produce results. And I do think that the CLS lawyers are seen as experts.
CLS has improved the lives of many individuals and families, but through that it's improved all of our lives and improved our community by providing access to justice.
10 million CLSs are needed because the need in this country and in this world is so great.
I applied for the RAP program for the water company. I've filled out 4 applications. It can lead to the loss of my home. There is a huge comfort in knowing that I'm not in this battle alone.
Early in my career, and even to this day, I practiced primarily criminal law. And as a young lawyer, I was doing a lot of court appointments. And I had a revelation early on that many of the problems that surfaced as we discussed things with the family were legal issues. And you saw how the poor of Philadelphia were mired in this substrata of society because they couldn't deal with legal issues.
It was not welcomed with open arms in the beginning. There was some opposition.
When CLS started, we didn't really know how to do this. I mean, we were kind of like learning this on the fly.
Law Center West was the first neighborhood office in Pennsylvania, and it was a very special office. We didn't have enough telephone lines for everyone in the office, so when you wanted to make a call, you would wait for an available phone line to be able to make a call out. But nonetheless, we were able to accomplish so much.
We'd go down to Washington and argue and promise we'd be good. CLS would do everything they were supposed to do, just keep our funding coming. And we were successful with that. And then that showed, too, the commitment of both the private bar and the staff work that CLS was quite confident when they did.
When I became Chancellor of the Bar Association in 2006, I was introduced to our legal services community. There was one that stood out. There was one that was the leader of all of them, the one that had a national reputation, and that was Community Legal Services. And they developed that reputation because of the terrific work they did, first for individuals who have real problems, but also because of their terrific policy work.
One of the great joys I had as executive director was receiving a phone call from a constitutional scholar who had done an empirical study of legal services programs across the country and had concluded that CLS was the most successful program in the nation. CLS has scored victories before the Supreme Court and in the circuit courts and in the courts throughout the nation, striking down race discrimination, reframing consumer rights and protection and consumer bankruptcy law, protecting vulnerable tenants, protecting the elderly in nursing homes.
When mortgage foreclosure was really in a total uptick in 2008, CLS jumped into the conversation and the needs. Those attorneys that you see and those who testified in City Council and met with the mayor and in Washington and had a place at the table for policy development at every step and every level, CLS had a presence.
I love the fact that they're going to battle daily.
This is a higher order of our society. This is where everyone is pulling together and pulling in the same direction. This is where it's joyful to help other people. They work their tails off. But what they speak through their actions is commitment to a brighter future and a joy in the partnership they have with their clients.
People are in law school today just begging for these kind of jobs. And the reason is because it's such good work. It's work that feeds the soul.
Lawyers that are just fantastic, that could work for any large firm, any government agency that they wanted to, but they have chosen to do this important work.
And I think CLS, even more than that, has had an impact as being a role model for other legal services organizations around the country and around the world, changing when new needs arise, creating new units, bringing in new people, focusing on new ideas.
CLS has a really great strategic thought process around what issues they're going to tackle and how they're going to tackle those issues.
We really appreciate and need you in the community. Just knowing that there's somewhere, if you have a legal problem, that you can actually turn and get some assistance is helpful enough, just having that security blanket, so to speak, like insurance.
I think people forget that coming out of 1996, we lost 1/3 of our federal funding, and that has really never come back. That was a huge hurdle. It's changed the world of legal aid. On top of that, of course, was the 1996 restrictions on the work that legal aid could do.
It's so terribly important that we support CLS. We have a moral responsibility. CLS is in the trenches doing the really, really tough work. Our job is to write the checks to make sure that they can carry out their responsibilities.
The promise of equal justice under the law is simply a slogan unless there are lawyers willing to give it meaning in their practice. And the lawyers of CLS do that every day.
When I first started to work with CLS, I have to confess, I didn't get it. I didn't understand. I had a vague notion that they did good work in the community. Over the past decade plus, I have grown to really appreciate the extraordinary impact that CLS has. And I recognize what a privilege it is to be associated in any way with an organization that is extraordinary, that has an extraordinary impact. Whether you're a volunteer, a staff member, a leader, a donor, you're part of something really big.
If you were sitting down thinking to yourself, where can my dollars go that is going to make the most impact? It's CLS. This is the organization where you want your dollars to go because they will get used in the best possible way.
If we're going to serve Philadelphia and make Philadelphia the first-class city that it should be, it has to be a first-class city for the poor as well as the middle class as well as the wealthier.
We need to continue to exist. I think I started out 30-some years ago thinking that if we worked hard enough, we would get rid of poverty in this country. That has not happened. There will always be someone at the bottom of the heap in this country, even if we do better than we're doing now. I think that therefore we're always going to need legal aid organizations who provide for the poorest in our country, who get their stories told, and who challenge our system to treat them better.
I think what makes CLS really, truly effective is that they have their eyes on the horizon. They know where we can go if we can just get there. So they're looking always for the way to craft that path. A new way of thinking about an old problem that breaks the logjam and allows judges and legislators to see that there are partnerships to be made from what used to be an adversary system.
When God willing, CLS is stronger than ever and is well funded, I just like to say that those of us that were there in the beginning are proud of you and hope you keep up the good work and to keep the dream alive.
This is a really important anniversary for CLS. No one knew whether CLS would last. No one knew whether they would get through some very difficult years. But CLS made it through, and they made it through to a point where they are stronger and better and more focused and helping more people than ever before.
It's the greatest program in the country. And in some ways, though, it's the most underappreciated program in the country. And I think our society has to recognize that the future of our democracy depends on equal access to justice for all.